You wake up choking on freezing air. Your cabin is tilted. Somewhere above you, a man is screaming for help. Water pours beneath your door, inch by inch. You don't know which way is up. All you know is this: in less than 3 hours, the greatest ship ever built will disappear beneath the Atlantic. And unless you make the right choices, you'll disappear with it. Tonight, you're trapped aboard the Titanic. 6 hours earlier, none of this seemed possible. You stand at the railing of the boat deck, second-class ticket folded in your coat pocket, watching the coastline of Southampton shrink into gray mist. The ship beneath your feet doesn't feel like a ship. It feels like a floating city. 11 decks of polished oak, brass fittings that catch the afternoon light, a hum of engines so smooth you can barely feel them through the soles of your shoes. Somewhere below, in first class, there's a swimming pool, a gymnasium, a cafe modeled after a Parisian sidewalk. You didn't pay for any of that, but you don't need to. Just being aboard her is enough. Your cabin is small but immaculate. Dark wood paneling, a narrow bed with sheets so crisp they look untouched, a porthole that frames the ocean like a painting. You share a table in the second-class dining saloon with a retired schoolteacher named Edith, who talks with her hands and calls the ship a miracle of modern engineering, and a young man named Thomas, traveling alone to New York to start a new life. He's nervous and excited in equal measure, the way people are when they've bet everything on a single decision. "They say she can't sink," Thomas tells you over dinner, buttering a roll like it's the most ordinary thing in the world. Watertight compartments, 16 of them. Even if she hits something, she just floats on. You nod along because everyone nods along. It's not a rumor so much as a shared certainty, passed from steward to passenger, repeated so often it stopped being a claim and started being a fact. The ship is too big to fail, too well built, too new. That night the sea is glass flat, the air sharp with cold. You take a short walk along the deck before bed, breath fogging in front of you, and notice how still everything is. No moon, no wind, just black water stretching in every direction, and the stars pressing down close enough to touch. A crew member nods politely as he passes, checking something near the lifeboats. Routine, unremarkable. You don't think about it again. You go back to your cabin, change into your night clothes, and fall asleep to the gentle vibration of engines that have carried you flawlessly for 4 days. You don't feel the moment everything changes. Not really. It's not violent. It's a shudder, faint, almost gentle, like the ship has brushed against something in its sleep. A faraway scraping sound, metal against something harder than metal. Then seconds later, silence. The engines stop. You lie there in the dark, waiting for them to start again. They don't. For 4 days, that hum has been so constant you'd stopped hearing it, and now its absence is louder than any noise could be. You get up, pull a coat over your night clothes, and step into the corridor. Other doors are opening too. Passengers in robes and slippers, hair mussed with sleep, exchanging the same confused half-smiles. "Did you feel that?" someone asks. Nobody has an answer. A steward walks past, calm and brisk, telling everyone it's nothing, a minor issue. Please return to your cabins. There's no cause for concern. His voice is steady, but his pace isn't. You notice that. You file it away without knowing why. You follow a small crowd up toward the deck instead of going back to bed. The night air bites through your coat. And there, scattered across the wooden planks like something out of a dream, is ice. Chunks of it, knocked loose from somewhere, glinting under the electric lights. A few young men kick it around, laughing. Someone scoops up a piece and throws it at a friend. It's almost festive, a novelty. Nobody here looks afraid. But you notice the ship isn't quite level anymore. A faint tilt, barely perceptible, the kind you'd only catch if you were standing still and paying attention. You are. You grip the railing and feel it, the floor beneath you sloping, so slightly toward the bow. Rumors start moving through the crowd the way fire moves through dry grass. Someone heard the ship struck an iceberg. Someone else heard it grazed past harmlessly. A steward insists there's nothing to worry about, that Titanic is unsinkable, and most people believe him, because why wouldn't they? You watch an older couple return to the warmth of the smoking room, waving off the cold as the real danger. But near the lifeboat davits, you see a small cluster of crew quietly uncovering the boats, pulling back canvas, checking ropes. Nobody announces this, nobody explains it. You just see it happening, methodical and wordless, and something in your chest tightens. You go back down to find Edith and Thomas. Edith is already dressed, a life jacket slung over one arm, her usual talkativeness replaced by tight, clipped sentences. They're saying we should get our jackets, just in case. Thomas laughs it off from his doorway, still in his nightshirt. It's a precaution. We'll be back in our beds within the hour. You don't know who's right. That's the worst part. Nobody does. The ship still hums with electric light, the band has assembled somewhere near the first-class lounge, and faint music drifts down the corridor, unbothered, almost cheerful. It doesn't feel like the kind of night a ship goes down. It feels like a drill, an overreaction. And yet you find yourself reaching for your own life jacket anyway, tying the canvas straps with fingers that have started faintly to shake.
On the way back up, you pass an open stairwell and hear two officers speaking in low, urgent voices. You weren't meant to hear it, but you do. Words like flooding and mailroom and hours, not days. One of them says something you wish you hadn't heard at all, that the forward compartments are filling faster than anyone expected, that the watertight doors aren't enough, that the water is climbing. You stand frozen on the stairs for a moment, the music still drifting faintly from above, and you understand with a cold clarity that the ship everyone called unsinkable is sinking. You don't run, not yet. Panic hasn't caught up to knowledge. You find Edith and Thomas again near the boat deck, and you tell them what you heard. Edith's face goes pale, but she nods slowly, like she'd already suspected. Thomas doesn't believe you, or doesn't want to. They'll fix it, he says. They always fix it. You want to grab him by the shoulders and make him understand what you overheard, but there's no time, and some part of you isn't sure you understand it yourself. The boat deck is filling now. Crew members move between passengers with more urgency than before, directing people toward the lifeboats, calling out for women and children first. But the boats are lowering half empty. You watch one descend the ship's side with maybe 20 people in a boat built for 65, and nobody stops it. Nobody fills the empty seats, because nobody standing there yet believes they need to. The ship still looks whole, still looks safe. It's hard to climb into a small wooden boat dangling 70 feet above black water when the deck beneath you feels more solid than anything else in the world. You see a woman clutching an infant, refusing to move without her husband, who isn't allowed in the boat. You see an old man help his wife into a lifeboat and then calmly step back, choosing to stay. Nobody is thinking clearly. Everyone is making impossible choices in a matter of seconds, choices that will define whether they live or die, and none of them have enough information to make them well. A young girl, maybe 8, is separated from her mother in the crush near the stairwell, swept one way while her mother swept another, both of them screaming names into a crowd too thick to move through. You grab the girl before she's trampled, hoist her up, and start shoving through bodies toward where you last saw the mother disappear. It costs you minutes, real minutes, the kind you don't get back. By the time you reunite them, another lifeboat has already gone, lowered with room to spare, and you're further from the boats than you were before. The tilt of the ship has become impossible to ignore now. Objects on tables begin to slide. Somewhere below you hear the groan of shifting furniture, glass shattering, the specific creak of a structure being asked to do something it was never built to do. Officers fire flares into the black sky, brilliant white bursts that light the deck for a heartbeat before fading, a signal to any ship that might be close enough to see. None answers. And through it all, faintly, impossibly, the band keeps playing.
You catch fragments of it drifting between the screams and the groan of metal, steady, almost defiant, like the musicians have decided that if the night is going to take everything else, it won't take this too. You make it to the boat deck's edge, but the boats there are already gone or going. An officer grabs your arm and shouts you toward the stern, shouting something about boats on the other side, and you run, dragging Thomas with you now, because somewhere in the last 20 minutes, he stopped believing they'd fix it too. The ship is no longer level. It's a slope now, a hill of polished wood and brass that used to be a floor. Water has swallowed the grand staircase, rising through the ornate glass dome above it, drowning the wrought iron banisters you walked past 4 nights ago without a second glance. The electric lights flicker, dim, brighten, dim again, casting the whole scene in a stuttering, unnatural glow. Furniture that hasn't been bolted down slides past you in the dark, chairs and trunks and a grand piano groaning across a floor no longer flat enough to hold them. People are jumping now, not from panic alone, but from the simple brutal math of it. The ship is going under, the boats are gone, and the freezing ocean, terrible as it looks, is the only direction left. You watch a man leap from the railing above you and vanish into black water 40 feet down. You hear the splash. You don't hear him again. You search the deck for anything, a raft, a piece of debris, a boat you missed. Thomas is beside you, gripping the railing so hard his knuckles have gone white. Edith is nowhere. You call for her once, twice into a crowd that stopped being a crowd and becomes something closer to a stampede, and you don't hear her answer. The bow disappears beneath the surface first, swallowed inch by inch, and the whole ship begins to tilt in earnest now. Not a slope anymore, but an angle, steep and getting steeper, the stern lifting toward the stars like something being pulled by an enormous unseen hand. The sound the ship makes as it breaks is unlike anything you've ever heard. Metal groaning under 1,000 tons of pressure, a deep tearing roar that seems to come from everywhere at once, from below your feet and above your head and inside your own chest. You feel it more than you hear it. The stern rises higher and higher until you're not standing on a deck anymore. You're clinging to a railing on what has become impossibly a wall. People around you lose their grip, one by one, falling, screaming into the dark. Thomas's hand slips from yours. You reach for him and catch only air. The lights flicker a final time, hold for one unbearable second, and go out completely. Total darkness swallows the ship. You can no longer see the water below or the stars above, only feel the railing biting into your palms and the impossible angle of the deck beneath your feet. Somewhere in that darkness, the ship finally lets go of itself, and the sound of it, of thousands of tons of steel tearing apart, is the last thing you hear, before the railing tears free from your hands and the ocean rises up to take you. The cold hits you like a wall of iron. It isn't like any cold you've felt before. It doesn't ache, it doesn't sting, it simply stops your body from working the way it's supposed to. Your lungs seize. For a moment you can't breathe at all, can't think, can't do anything but fight the reflex to scream out the little air you have left. You surface into chaos. Hundreds of voices fill the darkness around you, crying out, calling names, screaming for boots that have already rowed away and won't come back. The sound is enormous, a wall of human grief spread across black water under a sky full of indifferent stars. You find a piece of floating debris, a deck chair, splintered but buoyant, and you cling to it with hands that are already losing their feeling. You kick toward nothing in particular, because moving feels better than stillness, because stillness feels like giving up. Around you, the voices begin to change, not quieter exactly, but fewer. One by one, the crying stops, not because help arrived, because the cold finished what it started. You try to hold on to the chair, to your own name, to the memory of warm dinners and Edith's hands moving as she talked, and Thomas laughing about a new life in New York. but the cold moves through you slower than the panic did, patient in a way panic never was, numbing your fingers, then your arms, then something deeper than your arms. The screaming around you fades into a low, scattered murmur, and then into almost nothing. Your grip on the chair loosens without your permission. Your body has stopped listening to whatever's left of your will. The stars above blur into long, faint streaks, and you're not sure anymore if that's your vision failing or something else entirely. The last thing you're aware of is silence. Not peace, just silence, total and complete, the kind that swallows an ocean's worth of screaming and leaves nothing behind. Then nothing at all.